Hello, everyone. And for the benefit for those online, we thank you for joining us and we welcome you to the afternoon session for Health Ministries Weekend. Cynthia will be coming up to give us her presentation, but before she comes, I'm going to draw another name. Reynald Ford. Dr. Ford, where are you, sir? Dr. Ford, Dr. Ford. He probably went to the bathroom. Oh, you have the same name? Come on, you get it. Everybody bring him up. Okay, let's see. Let's start off with a bang. Sometimes beautiful things come in cards. Congratulations. Give him a round of applause, everyone. One more. Isabella Morales. Isabella Morales. Okay. Donna Archie. There you go. Okay. Now, some of them are male, some of them are female gifts, so we're going to make sure we stay close to everything. There you go. Let's give her a round of applause. No, she didn't start yet. Since Isabella's not here, I will give her one more chance. She will go back in the box. Reynald and Sister Donna, you will stay out the box. And we'll bring up Sister Cynthia now. Come on, everybody, this is a young adult. Now, I thank her for being understanding that I'm going to have you give your bio. But she is one of our young adults, and she's also a registered nurse. So she's going to be talking to us about I'm eating what? Reading and deciphering food labels. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Cynthia. I'm a nurse, and I'm originally from Kenya. I'm a young adult. I'm still a student. And I'm happy to be here. This is my first time doing it, so I hope you guys learn something. Oh, yes, I hope you guys learn something. Okay, so before we start, I have some props. So I have collected a bunch of packages that I could, and I have a worksheet and pens that are going to be passed out by my friends. So as we go through the slides, we'll fill in the worksheet. So that's what they're doing. Just so that we can have an interactive session and actually understand what's going on. It's not that long, but it's interactive. So for the people sitting together, I'm going to have you have just one package, just so that everybody gets one. And for everybody sitting alone, you'll each get one and a pen. If you could bring back the pens, that'd be great. They're for the Health Ministry Department. Oh, once you're done with the packages, I could just take them back and I'll throw them out in recycle. So just leave them at your seats and we'll get them, or something of that nature. You do need the props, so please take some props and the worksheets. Martha, that's good. You should use that. Oh, well, I guess you could, but either one works. Did everybody get a prop, a pen, and a worksheet? If you don't have either of those, lift up your hand. But I feel like they're doing a good job. Thank you, Matthew and Juan. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. So reading food labels. So this is a info session to just equip you with tools when you go to the grocery store and you're picking up your groceries and you do not read food labels. You just pick it up because you know the brand name or what am I getting? I need this, but you don't turn it around and read the food label to see what you're actually getting. So what types of foods have food labels? Anybody? What types of foods usually have food labels? Processed foods. Packaged foods, yes. So what is a processed food? This is a raw food that has been altered from their natural state. So examples of raw foods, examples of food processing would be washing, cutting, milling, pasteurizing, packaging, cooking, freezing, fermentation, cooking, I said that, and mixing. So anything that's been altered in any way from its natural state is processed, even if it's minimal processing. So there are pros to processed foods. So some pros would be convenience, you don't have to cook it or do anything. It's mostly ready to eat or just prepared in a few minutes. Affordable, and it's accessible for the most part. You can go to the store and pick it up. It is accessible. The cons of processed food is that it's mysterious and low in nutritive value. So mysterious in terms of, they say, added sugars, but we don't know what added sugars. We don't really know because we weren't there while they were processing it. We have to believe what they say on the label and take it for what it is. Can't question it and go to the factory and find out. So everybody has a package. So if you want to go ahead and look at the food label, find the food label and just look at it. On the other side, Jessica. Oh, okay. So everybody find their the packaged product and find the food label. So a food label should look like this. It has the nutrition facts, and this was the old one before the FDA updated it. So the old food label just had serving size, calories, and content. But the new food label that was updated in 2016 has, in addition to serving size, calories, and nutrients, it has added sugars. So some foods come with sugar in their raw state, and then they add sugar on top of that. So now they're required to state, hey, this was 10 grams of sugar, and then we added 20. So now the total sugar is 30 grams. So if you look at your packages, your labels, it should look something like that. So at the top, we have the nutrition facts, we have the servings per that container, we have the serving size, the calories, and then we have the total carbs, and underneath that, we have the sugars. we have the total sugars, and then underneath we have the included sugars, so what they added to the product. So pillars of label reading, to me, these are the three things that you would need to know while you're going to the store and you're shopping, and you don't have time to read the food label, you don't have time to read everything and calculate everything. These are just the main things that you would need to know: the ingredients list, the sugar content, and the serving size. So on your worksheets, I have 6 questions there, and as I go through the PowerPoint, we'll go ahead and fill that in. So if you want to grab your worksheet, everybody got a worksheet and a pen, and we can fill that out as we go. So ingredients list. That's an example of an ingredients list. All the packages that you received have ingredients list. If you could find that, some of them are in really small print, but they're there because they're required to be there. So some ingredients lists are that long, and some are very short with just the actual, raw food that's in the product that has been minimally processed. So the ingredients are listed in order of importance. So what comes after profit is the ingredients list. So your first question, it says the 3 ingredients contained in the greatest amount are. So look at your food package that you got, and the first 3 ingredients that are there are in the highest quantity of that product. If you look at it, if yours has 2 ingredients, then those are in the highest quantity. So you can fill that out with whatever packaged product that you got. The 3 first ingredients are in the highest quantity of that product. Did everybody find theirs? Does anybody want to state the food product they have and the 3 ingredients that are in the greatest amount? And the greatest amount? 1. Oh, go ahead. Coconut water, it's just 1 ingredient?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that's in the greatest amount of that product is only coconut water. Oh, Andre has one. Oh, you're gonna. Okay, go ahead.
So I have Belvita breakfast biscuits. I picked it up because we actually eat these.
Okay.
But it's whole grains, flour, and riboflavin.
Okay, so those
Just
are the
vitamin.
3 greatest amounts of product in that whole product. What do you have?
All right, so I have whole grains oat nut bread. And it's whole wheat flour, water, enriched flour.
Okay, so flour times 2. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, hold on for the mic so that we can hear you.
Flour, barley, and malt.
And what food product do you have? What is that?
It's donut, I think. Cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon rolls? Okay. Anybody else want to share? Yep. She wants. Oh, did you have? Oh, she wanted to say.
So I have Idahoanian, roasted garlic mashed potatoes.
Okay.
And the 3 first ingredients are potatoes, vegetable oil, which is coconut and sunflower, and salt.
And salt. Okay. All right. So when you read an ingredients list, the 3 first ingredients are in the greatest amount in that food product. And some of them at the end, they usually say less than 2% of these ingredients in the food product. So some foods that have no ingredients or are ingredients on their own are spinach, garlic, eggs, products that just come on their own and they can be used as food. They have no ingredients. They're just, ingredients themselves. just wanted to share that. Okay, the next pillar of label reading is sugar content. So that would be question number 4 on your worksheet. So deciphering sugar content. So sugar, this is an example of a product. The serving is 1 bar, so to eat all that, the sugar content will be 17 grams, but we cannot envision what 17 grams looks like when you're at the store and you have all these things you're trying to buy. So this is an example of what 4 grams of sugar would be. So 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. It's standard across the board. So that Lara bar had 17 grams of sugar divided by 4. That's about 4 teaspoons of sugar in that small bar. How many grams of sugar that product has? The ones that we passed around. And fill in number 4 on your worksheet. How many grams of sugar does your packaged product have? 36 grams of sugar. It's a cake batter mix. So that's 36 grams of sugar. And then question 5 is, how many teaspoons of sugar is that? So divided by 4, that's about 9 teaspoons of sugar, which is 2 tablespoons, 2.5, 2.25.
Can you repeat the product?
A cake batter mix. So the dry powder, you mix it with water and a cake batter mix. So the dry powder, you mix it with water and eggs. 36 grams of sugar. Anybody else want to share what their product, how many grams of sugar?
Mine's the Belvita, and it's got 10 grams of sugar, so like 2.5 teaspoons, and 1 pack, which has 4 biscuits in it.
Right. So we'll talk about servings later, but okay.
Mine is sparkling ice water, has 0 sugar.
0 sugar, but it's still sweet. Why? Yes, and they do state it, and we'll get to that, but yeah.
Okay, mine are tortilla chips, 0 grams.
0 grams of sugar, okay. Oh,
I'm
she
coming.
has one.
I have the Banza Penne, and it's 1 gram.
1 gram of sugar.
While I'm walking, I'll talk. I have the almond milk, and surprising, is 0 grams of sugar.
Okay.
I have a lovely kind of Sprite,
Yes. How many?
and it says 38 grams of sugar, which would make it upwards of 9 teaspoons of sugar.
Right. 9 teaspoons of sugar. That is a lot, and you know, 1 can of Sprite is a serving, so you would drink the whole can and drink 2 of them with cinnamon rolls or Belvita. So you're just, yes, it is. Oh, he has one. Sister Tracy, right there.
I have the organic protein shake drink,
Uh-huh.
and it has 1 gram of total sugar.
But it's still sweet. So, ingredients list to find out, but we'll talk about that later. So go ahead and fill in number 4, the grams of sugar in your product, and divide by 4, which is number 5, to find out how many teaspoons of sugar. That brings it into perspective because we all know what a teaspoon looks like. So 9 teaspoons, just imagine putting 9 teaspoons of sugar in water and drinking that. Is equivalent to whatever that product has, which, you know, you can't do that if it's in grams. You can't envision that. All right. So different aliases of sugar. So some sugar are not called sugar, but they are sugar. They're sugar's cousins. And sugar has a lot of cousins. Here are some cousins of sugar. So look at your ingredients list and see if you can find another name of sugar on your product. I know it's not the top 3, but if your product has sugar, it either calls it sugar or it calls it fructose. High fructose corn syrup, that's the most common. Corn syrup, rice syrup, anything syrup-like is sugar. Date sugar, molasses, maple syrup, oat syrup, they have all, sorghum is sugar. There are just so many kinds of sugars that we don't know as sugar. So look at your products and see if you can find, anybody found one of these on their products? I mean, I know the Sprite bottle has that as a second ingredient. What kind of sugars have you found on your products? Jessica.
I have brown sugar, malt syrup, molasses, and datem.
4 kinds of different sugars in one product, but it's all sugar.
In a product that's considered healthy.
Right, because it's whole grain, whole wheat, so we don't think about that, and then has all these grams of sugar. But if you read the ingredients list, which is one of the pillars of label reading, you'll find out some products have different kinds of sugar, but they think we don't know. For the most part, we don't. Anybody else want to tell us what kind of sugar is in their product? Millet sugar is in Jessica's fig bars, so fig Newtons from Costco. Millet sugar. Brown rice sugar in Jessica's fig bar, so it has 2 kinds of sugar in that. Cane sugar, 3 kinds of sugars in that small fig bar. Oh, what is it? Juice concentrate, that's probably sugar. It's just not on the list, but it's juice, so it's sugar. What about the cake mix? Does it have any sugar? It just says, well, they're honest, it's just sugar. They're not hiding it. So that's good. Right. Right, trying to hide it. So those are different kinds of sugars that are in products. Sometimes they will never say sugar, but mostly syrups, concentrates, they're all sugar. And then we have sugar substitutes, which is sugar's long-distant cousin that they think. So these are kinds of sugar substitutes. We have Splenda, Equal, we have the zero sugar packs, honey. I have another picture. So blackstrap molasses, that's sugar. Coconut sugar, date sugar. Well, that's kind of sugars. But if we go back to this, I know some people use the packets of sugars. That's still sugar. It's just called a sugar substitute, but it works the same way as sugar in the body. Okay, the third pillar of label reading is serving sizes. So that would be question 2 and 3. So every processed food product needs to state how many serving sizes are in that product. So, for example, all the products that you have serving sizes on them. So this is how much you would need to eat to get that amount of sugar, that amount of carbs, that amount of calories, that amount of fat. All that is in the serving size that they stated. That's how they calculate it. And then if you eat the whole pack, then how many servings are those? And then you just multiply. If it's 20 grams of sugar and it's 4 servings, so 20 times 4 is 80. So you had 80 grams of sugar divided by 4, that's 20 teaspoons. So you had that in the whole serving. So if you look at your packaged product at the top where it says nutrition facts, and then it says about how many servings per container. So look at your packaged products. It should state servings, like how many should you eat? Not do you need to, should you eat? So anybody want to share how many servings per container? 6 servings, but what's the serving size? Under that, it says serving size, 1 packet. So yes. Oh, she already said it. So her Fig Bars container has 6 servings in that container, but a serving size. So what should I eat? 1 serving, which is 1 of the bars. And then you look at the nutrition facts, that equals to 1 serving. So the sugars, carbs, all that is just for 1. Go ahead.
So one serving is 4 biscuits, and it has 30 servings in the box. So it's 4 biscuits is 1 pack.
4 biscuits. So for 4 biscuits, you get that amount of sugar, that amount of protein, that amount of all that. So if on your worksheets, if you want to write number 2, what is a serving size? So,
We've got an interesting one here.
okay.
Mine is 7 sizes, 8 servings per container. 7 sizes, half a roll.
Half of 1 roll is a serving size. It's the cinnamon
That's
rolls.
the cinnamon rolls.
From the bakery. So you need to eat a half of that to get the amount of sugar that it states on the label. Not 1 and not 2 and not the whole thing of that. So that just brings it into perspective of, so the label, whatever the label is stating, that's only for 1 serving. And then you'll just multiply by however many servings you end up eating out of that package to find out actually how much sugar, how many carbs, how many calories, all that. So that's, So if you could fill out number 2, what is a serving size? So I have this elbow macaroni. So the serving size of this is half a cup dry. So that's the serving size for 1 person is half a cup of dry elbow macaroni. And then number 3, how many servings are in 1 container? This one has about 8 servings per container. So very interesting. So serving of half a cup dry, that would be 2 grams of sugar, includes 0 added sugars. So those were the original sugars from the raw product. Okay. Oh, and then this is just a way maybe you could use to envision what a serving is if you don't have measuring cups, measuring spoons, all that. A fist is 1 cup, so nuts is 1 cup. If you do a handful of nuts, that's 1 cup. A fingertip is 1 teaspoon. A thumb is 1 tablespoon. A cupped hand is half a cup. And a palm is 3 ounces, which I feel like that's half a teaspoon. So why is the serving size important? Why do you think the serving size is important? Why do we need to know that? Anybody? What's the point of a serving size? Yes, to figure out what you're eating.
If you're going to eat double the amount of that, you need to double the numbers.
Yes, so that you know how much you're eating. And to know if you're overeating, if you're undereating. Any other significance of knowing the serving size? If you're calorie counting, which is a thing, that's important. You need to know that. Okay. Yeah, if you're diabetic, you better know.
If you're sharing with friends,
If you're sharing with friends, you better know how many servings are in a container. This is true. Any other? Why is a serving size important? So yeah, if you're sharing with friends and you've bought a package of 1 serving, total servings, then that's not going to be enough for everybody. And a diabetic should watch your sugars, and you need to know the serving so that you can know the amount of sugar you're actually taking in, so that you can control. So it does provide perspective and a viewpoint on what am I actually eating, which is important. And yeah, for resources, while you're at the store and you're like, I don't know what this ingredient is, and I don't have time to figure it out, but I need this product, you can always Google it. You can, because it's true. You can always Google it if you're in doubt, if you don't know if this is sugar, is this not sugar, what is happening. Use your calculator to calculate the amount of sugars. Yeah, so that was it for my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anything you've learned? Has anybody learned anything from this presentation? Would you like to share what you've learned? Share.
that it takes time to be healthy, and just an extra few minutes reading some labels will help me in that regard.
Yes, yes, it does take time, but it does help.
You won't get fat if you don't use all that sugar. Right?
Right.
I used to open and close stores, so I know that the perimeter all around are all the healthy foods. All the processed foods are in the middle.
All the processed foods are in the middle, so that's good to know.
So sometimes we don't want to know, like some of our more cultural food names or dishes, and we find out that it's 1,000 calories. Like we didn't need to know that, but how do we do that part of it? So like a ungali or some kind of a dish.
That's a good question. Cultural dishes that have no food labels, how do we know how much sugar? Oh, she has an answer to that. Yes, you just start making it on your own so that you can measure all the ingredients so that if you put 1 cup of sugar in your product, then you know how many teaspoons of sugar is that, which is a lot. But that's how you would know, is if you start making the product by yourself.
Okay. So I think the lesson is very important.
Okay.
And I have something to share. So about a month ago, we were working out with my sister Martha there. And it happened that we were so hungry. And then we went to one of the stores. And we thought, I love plantain. I love plantain very much.
Yeah, me too.
So we got into one of the stores and we bought some plantain chips. After we are done with the packet, so mother was looking at the nutrition facts of that, and we were so surprised. Actually, I thought if I could get it out, I could have done it immediately.
Wow.
Because, there was something, they said there's something there, that it can cause something, yeah. It is good, but then it can, I don't know what they say, it can cause something. The effects, so I was so surprised and I realized, okay, fine. Whenever we go to the store, we need to know the facts and also know the side effects of the product we are buying.
Right, yes.
I was so surprised about a month ago. And so this is coming timely now that you are teaching this thing to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. So, yes, the nutrition facts are very important, and Martha has one.
Oh. So I learned how much teaspoons of sugar is in a gram. So I know to calculate it now.
That's good. Good, I'm glad you learned that. Martha has one.
So for the traditional food like ugari, as he had asked, you can Google it. I've just Googled it. I can
Really?
tell how much. Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I did say Google.
Yes. Another thing that I've learned, I don't drink soda a lot, but I never knew it has a lot of sugar. Seriously, that was something that opened my eyes.
Soda, Sprite has
And
a
then
lot
remember,
of sugar.
that's a can. They have the mini cans, they have the regular cans, they have the 16-ounce. 7-Eleven has I think the big gulp or something like that. Again, I'm not bashing any store. They have to make money, but if we're trying to be healthy, have to realize that if you take something that looks like 16, 24, 32 ounces, and in that little small one was what?
38.
38?
Yeah, and they don't have nutrition labels at, Circle K. So you just go ahead and refill your cup, but you don't know how much sugar is in that. So that's Pastor Claudio had one. Pastor Claudio? But just be mindful.
Thank you. Yeah, also it's very important for comparison. For example, I tried to find some pasta sauce, and then I said, wow, this is too much salt. Let's see another one. You can compare.
Right.
And you can do a better choice.
Right, you can compare at the store. Oh, she has one. You can compare at the store 2 food products that you're considering on buying and buy the lesser evil.
I've also learned that sugar has relatives. I didn't know that.
Yes, sugar has
So,
relatives.
Whenever I'm reading the labels, I was just looking for sugar, just no other name.
Right.
But now I've learned.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yes, sugar has cousins and long-distance cousins known as sugar substitutes. So we need to know all those relatives and be mindful. And if you're questioning, I don't know if this is sugar or not, just Google it, and you will find out what it is.
Well, we learned sugar is good, natural sugar is good. But before you buy anything to the market, pray, Lord, teach me what to buy. And give me a good price also, because right now the price is expensive. When you go, because in dental field, I work in dental field, number one killing of the people in cavity is sugar. We advise patients when they have drink sugar, you can see the tongue and the lips is so dry. It's like they don't drink water, just only any drinks that have sugar. And most of the cavity is like, wow, you can see, because your sugar level never go down. By sipping it,
Never.
sipping water, just like that. That's why we advise, if you drink soda or anything, juice, finish in one glass and drink a lot of water, so your sugar level will go down.
Oh, that's good
not,
advice.
If not, cavities, diabetic. Yeah, I have a lot of sugar less in the dental field because we explain that to our patients. So before you go out and do your grocery, pray about it. Because what I learned long time ago is to pray before you go anywhere, ever shopping your clothes, especially your food. Pray about it. What is the best for me, oh God? Because our body is the temple of God.
Amen. Yeah. So if you have to take sugar, Sister Henrietta advises that you take it in one sitting instead of continuously consuming the sugar over an elongated period of time. Take it in one sitting and then drink water to stabilize your blood sugar levels. And she also says that pray before anything. Pray before going to the store and buying anything so that God can be with you as you consume.
I know this is not about sugar, but
Okay.
do we ever look at the expiration date? Because a while ago we bought a cooking oil and we got home and we were just using it. And then my daughter is so picky, who looks at everything. He goes on the pantry and she looked everything and she's, Mom, this oil is expired. It was expired last year. And when we bought it, we didn't know that it was expired. So we took it back to Walmart. She handles that business. She said, you sold us an expired cooking oil, which we didn't see because we got it from Walmart and we've been using it and it expired a year ago and we didn't know. So
Yes.
do we ever look at the expiration date too?
Yes, we should look at the expiration date. So there is more to label reading. I just highlighted the 3 pillars that if you could just start doing that and get more used to reading the labels, that would be a great habit. And then obviously expiration dates and everything.
I think it's important to look how many grams of sugar, protein, and fat are in something. And let's say that you had 5 grams of each. You'd think you have 1/3 of each. You've got double the fat because 7 calories in 1 gram of fat and 4 calories in 1 gram of protein or 1 gram of sugar. And so you gotta know that fat is more than doubled
Yes.
for calories.
So so the nutrition facts, there's a lot to dig in. I mean, calories, you could go down that tangent, fat, cholesterol, sodium. I know a lot of people watch their sodium. So that's important to know how many teaspoons of salt make X amount of grams of sodium, just to kind of give you perspective on what the product has. But yeah, I agree, looking at the expiration dates and everything to do with the nutrition label is very important. All right.
Thank you, Sister Cynthia. Everybody, Brother Juan and Dr. Matthew will be collecting your boxes so we can dispose of them. Now, let's go. So we have a big one. One of the books that was given to us is Diet Can Cause It, Diet Can Cure It by Maya Thornton. She is at the Oakwood University Church. She so graciously went ahead and signed the book for you and says, "Be in good health, Maya." So that's going to be our first one. Ah, Pastor Claudio. All right. You're welcome. Now we have a big bag. Male, female can get that one. Let's see. Sister Martha, are you still here? You're welcome. This is fun. Let's see. Let's do one more. We'll do another. Bertha, are you still here? Sister Bertha. Oh, I think she left. Okay, remember the rule. You do have to be here. Where did you go, Brother Juan Garcia? All right. I do apologize. My iPad is not connecting to the internet. So the next speaker will be Dr. Ray, we call him for short, Ford. I heard him speak at the Arizona health rally that was back in April. He and his wife did something called Diabetes Undone. That is a set program that is presented, and I think it's you can do it over 8 weeks, or you could do it over 4 weeks if you do twice a week. But unfortunately, his wife could not make it, so he's going to do both presentations. I will let him introduce himself. Unfortunately, I can't pull up the bio right now, but the first talk will be the big fat lie putting the puzzle together. Let's welcome Dr. Ford.
Hello? Yes. How are you, Pastor? I know, I remember that. Over at the comment back. Bless your heart. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tracy, for inviting us to do this presentation, and good afternoon, all. And how are you, my brother, Dr. Drew? Nice to see you. You know, my wife and I were supposed to tag team, but unfortunately, our daughter, who was at a day camp this week, I guess she picked something up, because yesterday evening during worship, she began to just cough and runny nose and all kinds of stuff, and all night long she was coughing. We did some natural remedies, some steam treatments and stuff. So my wife said she's doing much better, but she is not able to be here today. So pray for me, because we were supposed to do this together. And my son is here with me, Ray J. He also was at Camp Yavapains this past week with Dr. Organa, and all of them having a good old time. Well, this is a good, thank you very much for the presentation. It's a kind of good segue to what we're about to do now, the big fat lie, putting the puzzle together. By the way, I am Dr. Ray Ford, Prescott, Arizona, and we go to the Prescott Church. My wife and I are the co-directors for the health ministry team over there, and I'm also an elder there, and I'm also currently enrolled, about to start a master's in biblical missions and wellness at Weimar. So we're going to be heading to Weimar next month, actually in a couple weeks. So the Lord has always impressed upon me to that He has called me to do evangelism, and medical evangelism has been my thing for quite a few years now. And now He is calling me to go into this work. Like Dr. Tracy said, she's, you know, I put my medical practice on hold because I feel impressed to do so by the Lord. And thankfully, my wife has been very supportive. And it's hard because, you know how that goes. People asking me, are you going to get paid for this? Is it like my colleagues, they don't understand. I'm like, no. I say, no, I'm going to be paying the school to like, okay. But we know what this is like when the Lord calls you. And this is the last work. You know, medical evangelism is the last work. So the Lord has called us into this venture. And so we're going to walk by faith. Pray for us, pray for the children as they make this transition. It's not easy because they have their friends over here at the Prescott school, and now they're going to be going to the Weimar school. So pray for us. We were there about a year and a half ago. They did sit in some of the classrooms, but that was before I knew I was going to be going to Weimar. We were there for a completely different reason, but the Lord has opened up this door for us. So pray for us as we make this big transition. Amen? All right, so the big fat lie. So putting the puzzle together. And, you're going to hear a lot of repetition as we go along today. And where do I aim this thing? There or the... Oh, it's not on? Okay. Okay, here you go. Good, thank you. Here you go. Oh, well, okay, so I can't read that, but I could read this. So forgive me for turning my back slightly towards you. But it's God's health plan. And this is from Counsels for the Church, and Counsels on Diet and Foods, the first paragraph, and the second paragraph for Counsels for the Church. So let's read. Again and again, I have been shown that God is bringing His people back to His original design. That is, not to subsist upon the flesh of dead animals. He would have us teach people a better way. If meat is discarded, if the taste is not educated in that direction, if a liking for fruits and grains is encouraged, it will soon be as God in the beginning designed it should be. No meat will be used by His people. And I'm sure many of us know some of these by now. And she says, those who eat flesh are but eating grains and vegetables at second hand. For the animal receives from these things the nutrition that produces growth. The life that was in the grains and vegetables passes into the eater. We receive it by eating the flesh of the animal. How much better to get it direct by eating the food that God provided for our use. You know, just a little bit of, you know, my patients, because I tell my patients from the get-go, you walk into my office, I tell you, you know, not right away, but at some point, I am a lifestyle doctor. So I tell them my goal in life is to take your 25 medications and condense them to maybe 0 to 5. Some of them appreciate that, some of them not so much, and they complain about me all the time. You know, so, but this is why I believe the Lord is calling me to this work. But again, you know, people always ask me, well, how do you get your protein? How do you get your all these different things? And I tell them, I say, well, just take a look at me. Do I look like I'm lacking anything to you? And I tell them, look, I ask them, what is the largest land animal in the world? Some of them say cow, but most people say an elephant. And I ask them, have you checked out lately what the elephant eats, or even what the cow eats? I say, so do you think they're lacking in protein to you? As a matter of fact, there has never been a protein deficiency recorded anywhere in the world, ever. So this whole hype about protein is all really a big old lie promoted by industry. And I'm not here to bash industry or anything of the sort, nor am I here to, anytime I do these health presentations, I make sure people are aware that we are all at different stages in our, you know, in our walk. So, you know, we're not here to criticize, to call. We're here to teach, to educate, to learn. I'm learning as you are, okay? And I'm not perfect. No, you know, I've had my share of issues. I'm a type 1 diabetic since I was 9 years old. So I've lived all my life with diabetes, type 1. I'm on insulin, and I've had my share of woes, okay? I've had 2 cardiac events. I've had stents. I've had open heart surgery, 3 vessels. I was airlifted, okay, from a heart attack in Texas to Houston, where I had an emergency bypass. So we could go on and on. So again, I tell my patients, I say, I'm not telling you something that I learned in school alone. I'm a walking, breathing testimony. So when I tell, they're like, oh my goodness. And that grabs their attention. All right, so let's see here. So again, what is fat? Okay, so we're just going to give some quick definitions here. Fatty acids, and I'm going to stand all the way over here, so I'm not really giving my back to anyone. Fatty acids or lipids. Fats in our body are made up of 3 molecules joined together, and this is called a triglyceride. You may have seen that on your blood test. Tri meaning 3 glycerides, okay? Okay, that's 3 glyceride ester molecules. Most of the fat we need is made by our bodies, but there are some we can only get by eating them, and these are called essential fats. Okay, and then we have what we call fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K are all fat-soluble vitamins. And just in case somebody is wanting to find out, well, should you take all those vitamins? Actually, the only one I do recommend is vitamin D, okay? And that's because that's been found to be deficient in most people, even in people who live in Arizona. All right, so dietary fats. Dietary fats are important for your body to stay healthy. They provide energy, protect your organs, maintain cell growth, stabilize blood pressure, and helps in the absorption of certain nutrients. The key is to eat the right types of fat. Not all fats are created equal. And 1 gram of fat, yes, gives you how many calories? I believe the sister talked about that a little while ago. Yes, so fat. And it doesn't matter what type of fat it is. Now, we have healthy fats, yes, and they all are plant-based. And we have animal fat. But any type of fat gives you how many calories? 9 calories, okay? And so if we want to break it down, there are 3 main types of fats: saturated fats, unsaturated fats, and then you have trans fats. Okay, and the main difference between saturated fats and unsaturated fats is their form at room temperature and their impact on health. Now, saturated fats tend to stay solid at room temperature and cause fatty deposits in blood vessels, leading to atherosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries, In other words, this is what leads to the heart attacks and the strokes and all that bad stuff, as well as many other diseases. Okay, most saturated fats come from animal sources, like red meat, poultry, and dairy. Unsaturated fats, you have two kinds. You have the mono and you have the poly. And they stay liquid at room temperature. And they are less likely to clog up your arteries. Yes? Of course, again, you got to be careful with that too. Don't eat too much of it. Okay, they are mostly derived from plant sources like olive, avocado, and nuts. And again, remember that if you eat these foods too much, 1 gram of fat is how many calories? So if you're trying to lose weight, maybe you want to back off a little bit on this. So trans fat is mostly processed and ultra-processed and refined foods. They are dangerous and should never be consumed. Okay? They are partially hydrogenated oils and more harmful than naturally occurring oils. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. These are just some, I'm not trying to teach chemistry tonight, but these are just what the saturated looks like and an unsaturated fat looks like. Okay, and that should say double bond, not double bound. Okay, so the saturated fats, all the carbons are taken up by hydrogens. Okay, now with the unsaturated, now we have that double bond right there, one double bond between the two carbons, and so that is unsaturated, and that is a better fat to eat than to eat saturated fats. And again, the unsaturated fats you get mostly from plant sources. And when I say plant sources, I mean the whole food. Okay, I don't mean the bag of potato chips, because that also could be a problem. Okay. This is another schematic here. You have the saturated fats, and then you have the mono, which is 1 bond, and then you have the poly, which is 2 bonds. Okay, 2 double bonds which are not bound. Okay, so and we're going to get into it more as we go along. Okay, and this is just this is a lot of information here, but pretty much again, you have the bad fats, your saturated fats, and at the bottom you have your trans fats, which are also bad fats, and then you have your good fats, which are polyunsaturated, the omega-3s and the omega-6s, and then you have your other good fats, the monounsaturated, which are the some of it is the omega-9, and we shall go through these as we go along. And you feel free to take a picture or whatever you want to do to get all the information on these slides. And again, this is another picture here that just to give you another visual of what we are talking about. Now, I have to spend a little bit more time on this slide because there are some things there that may, I need to explain a little bit more. So we talk about saturated fatty acids again, animal products. You see them there. And I have to say this because every time I do these types of presentations, I try to make it very clear that there is probably the most harmful food you could put in your body is cheese. I thought I was going to get rocks thrown at me. So why do I? Because I always try to get it out of the way. Okay, cheese is highly saturated fat. It is there is no good thing about cheese. All it does is clog up arteries. Yes, increase inflammation in the body. Well, all forms of dairy do this. They clog up arteries. They increase inflammation in the body. Very acidic. Yes, and increase the risks of all kinds of diseases. One of the primary causes of cardiovascular disease, because cardiovascular disease is actually an inflammatory disease, yes? And cheese stands at the top of the list, yes? And so, I know when I go to churches and I speak about this, then we have pizza in the evening afterwards. You see, so it's kind of a disconnect there, But and Spirit of Prophecy also talks a lot about cheese. Yukovic counsels on diet, you will find out about cheese. In fact, she basically says cheese should not be eaten. Yeah? And nobody loved cheese more than I do. Loved. Back in my days in New York, I'll buy a chunk of cheese and it'll be gone in 2 days. You could see the reasons why I had 2 heart attacks. Okay? But thankfully, God in His mercy, because I could have died. Okay, so now you have your saturated plant-based fatty acids, and these are the nuts that you see there. Now, it's okay to have nuts, but like our sister just talked about a handful. A handful means the size of your hand, not the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger's hand, or the size of Michael Jordan's hand, okay? And try to curtail how much you eat. You see, people say, well, nuts are good for you. People used to eat nuts back in the, well, because like we in Africa, many times you go and pick the nut from the tree, and you have to crack it and break it, and it takes work. And by the time you eat 3 or 4, man, you're tired. You don't want to break anymore, You see? Unless you go buy it from the supermarket, which my dad used to do that all the time. Now, I want to go talk about palm oil and coconut oil, because as Africans, I know I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa. We use a lot of palm oil to cook, okay? And palm oil and coconut oil are highly, highly saturated. And they are not to be consumed. They're not to be eaten. Yes? Coconut oil is best for the skin, right? But not so much for consumption, because they're one of the biggest culprits in clogging up arteries. The way you know it is, what is their state at room temperature? What do they look like at room temperature? They are solids, right? And so that if it's that way out there, it does the same thing inside of your body. Okay, so you really want to try to avoid them and don't use them for cooking. And we cooked a lot with that thing. So I was being set up for a long time. Okay, so you want to cut those down. And the monounsaturated fats, now from the animal source, you have eggs. Okay, now again, eggs is a very common thing. People don't even think egg is an animal food. For some reason, people think egg is a vegetarian food. And I'm like, how did you get that? Because it comes from a chicken, okay? So, but people are like, wait a second, isn't egg? And I said, no. You see, but eggs is actually extremely, extremely high in cholesterol, especially the yolk. As a matter of fact, it is so high in cholesterol. Eggs is one of the leading causes right now for cardiovascular disease. It's at the top of the list with cheese. Okay? And then we'll go to polyunsaturated. And I'm skipping a lot of things just so we could move on. Okay, polyunsaturated fats, and then you see all those there. And I want to talk about fish. So there are points I'm going to highlight. Fish is, we have pescatarians, Adventists, we have vegetarian Adventists, we have this kind of, there's all kinds of, parts to this whole diet thing with Adventists and with people in general. So fish is, people tell me, well, Jesus Christ ate fish, he ate the Passover lamb. We're always looking for an excuse to continue our bad behavior. Yeah? One of the reasons why I believe I got the second heart attack 10 years after the first one, I just came from the gym. I went upstairs to take a shower. This was in Texas. And as I was taking off my clothes, I just had this intense pain that knocked me off. I fell on the floor. And my wife was downstairs. And she was in the kitchen preparing, it was on a Sunday morning, preparing breakfast. And she heard the boop, and she ran upstairs. Thankfully, she knew what to do, grab some aspirin and call 911. Okay? But at that time, we were still eating some fish. And we were using a fair amount of oil, mostly extra virgin oil. But as you're going to see in a little bit here, oil is, there are no healthy oils. Okay? So So I believe that was all part of what was what got me to that second heart attack. Because after the first heart attack, we left all the other animal foods, but we continued with fish and with oils. Okay? So the other thing with fish nowadays is there are no, I mean, you could go to the North Pole. They have done studies, from the North Pole, and they found out that these same fish have the same toxins that other fish have. There's something called biological amplification. What does that mean? It means that the small fish is eaten by the big fish, and the bigger fish eats the big fish, and it amplifies biologically. So whatever was in the small fish ends up in the big fish, and then in the bigger fish, and so it goes. Okay? And so the dioxins then compound, along with mercury, of course. And the other thing also is the parasitic load. Fish has one of the highest amounts of parasites in any food. Fish, very, very high in parasitic load. Okay? And so there is no reason to eat fish. None. There is no benefit from eating fish. None whatsoever. I ask people, I say, when you eat I say, why do you eat meat? Well, I eat it because I want to get my protein, I want to get my iron, I want to get my this, that, or my omegas for fish. I'm like, when you cut up the fish, have you ever just tried to taste it and eat it without doing anything to it? They're like, man, that's disgusting, that's gross. I said, that's exactly the point. Because God never gave man the taste buds for animal foods, including fish. If it has a face and a mother, it's an animal food. And God never gave man the taste buds for that. But when you bite into an apple, right away you enjoy it. You have to fix meat or fish for it to taste good. So it's not the fish you're enjoying, it's the flavoring that you're enjoying. Yeah? So again, we want to be sure that you could get every nutrient you need from a whole food plant-based diet. You don't need any kind of animal foods to get the nutrition that you need. I mean, we enjoy a nice piece of, whatever, go to the restaurant or whatever the case might be. But just understand that you don't need to have it to get the nutrients that you need. You're getting your nutrients secondhand along with a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay? So, and of course, we all understand that trans fat is dangerous. It should not be eaten. And so here's the fat fact. The least dangerous fats or oils are those which contain mostly monosaturated fatty acids. All poly and monounsaturated fatty acids can quickly become oxidized because there is a free space. Remember that double bond where you could add some hydrogen atoms? That free space for the monounsaturated is not as bad as for the poly, because the poly you have two double bonds. Okay? I'm trying not to get too technical here, but I hope you're staying with me. That's why I wanted to show you the diagrams before. Okay? So the polyunsaturated has two double bonds, yes? And so there is more chance for it to become auto-oxidized, and in that way they become easily unstable. Okay? And so when the oxygen gets there, then it becomes oxidized, and it is easier to turn rancid or kind of a funny taste. That's why, like flaxseed, for example, we talked about ground flax earlier today with Dr. Woods. Ground flax is an excellent type of food. It gives you your omega that you need, and all the good stuff that you need. It's excellent. But if you keep it for too long, it becomes rancid. You want to keep it no more than maybe a couple weeks, and keep it refrigerated once you start to use it. Keep it refrigerated, okay? So they should be used quickly and not left on the shelf for a long period of time. And again, this is another picture imaging here that in regards to unsaturated fats, saturated fats, and trans fat. Going back to trans fat. So trans fat is very common now in our society, okay? Some of the sources of trans fats are things we eat every day. We stop by, we're coming home late from work, we're tired, we're hungry, we don't want to go home and cook, and what do? We stop by Burger King, McDonald's, and what have you, right? Well, there goes your French fries. You see, trans fat is made by, it's a commercially made product for the most part. There are some naturally occurring, but most of it is made commercially, okay? And it's made by hydrogenation, okay? And it is made that way to give it a longer shelf life, and also it gives texture and taste to the food. Why do you think you can't get away from McDonald's fries? I knew for a long time I couldn't get away from McDonald's fries. I mean, that thing tastes so good. And if you've ever had, I don't know, do you have Popeyes here? Ooh. That was my stop in New York for years. I'm giving you a picture of how I was being set up to have 2 heart attacks. And I'm trying to, if you haven't had one yet, I pray you haven't, I'm trying to help you so you don't ever get one. Because not every heart attack is, you survive, or strokes, okay? So you want to avoid trans fats like it's the plague, okay? And saturated fats also you want to avoid, like we spoke about again, and unsaturated fats are the best types of fats that you could eat, okay? The monounsaturated, better than even the polyunsaturated for that matter, okay? And again, here's a list of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, okay? And you get your olive oil, your peanut oil, avocados, olives, nuts. And again, over here, you have your fatty fish, which is, again, should be avoided. I'm just giving you all the information so you could make it your own decision. And also help to teach your family members so that if you don't eat the stuff, you could tell your friends and your loved ones, your colleagues, hey, this stuff is not exactly the best thing, and this is why, okay? And then replacing saturated fats and trans fats with unsaturated fat in the diet can enhance the ability of the nerve cell membrane to pass along necessary messages. There is a reason why God, listen, there's a spiritual lesson behind this. If you read it again, you'll see the spiritual lesson. God communicates with us via what? Or through where? How does God speak to us? How does the Holy Spirit speak to us? Through which part of the mind? Ooh, yes, you guys are good. Yes? So by eating a lot of animal food products and refined foods and processed foods and a lot of cooking oils, the mind becomes foggy and cloudy. You can't think very well. You're tired. You're fatigued. You know, we could go down that road. I mean, there's a lot of poor outcomes with that type of diet. But when you eat a healthy, do you know that they did a study on blueberries not too long ago? And I think Dr. Nedley, I was at the North American Division Health Summit a couple months ago down in Kentucky, and Dr. Nedley was doing a presentation, and he talked about this study where they studied blueberries on school children, and children who ate 2 cups or more of blueberries performed the best in their class. The ones who ate less performed better still, and the ones who ate no blueberries did very poorly. Okay? And I tell my patients, because they're all old and they all want to, how can I stop dementia? I tell them, go eat some blueberries. and leave the meat alone. Okay? But eating the right types of foods, okay, and this is on this side, the broccoli, the flaxseed, okay, that gives you the benefit that you need. Do you know that broccoli has fat? You know that broccoli? Do you know it has fat? Because people don't think that vegetables have fat. You take broccoli into a lab to get tested, and it has about 8 grams of fat. It has fat, and it has the good fat. It has the good fat, and it's healthy for you. So you don't have to eat all this extra other stuff for that. Okay? And so now you have the flaxseed again. Flaxseed gives you the ALA and the DHA, and those consequently give you the omega-3 that you need. Okay? Now, a fatty meal equals a fatty liver and insulin resistance. Although most health experts recommend limiting fat consumption to between 20 to 35% of your total calories consumed in a day, most chronic illnesses like heart disease, hyperlipidemia, or high cholesterol, diabetes, type 2 diabetes for that matter, and other lifestyle diseases continue to progress on such diets. In other words, it's not working. It's not working. Okay? We all know type 2 diabetes. That's my pet peeve. I talk about that because of my own experience, even though I have type 1, but you know, type 2 is so much more prevalent, but it's all diabetes. And we could reverse the trend if we work at it. There is strong evidence to support that limiting fat consumption to less than 10% of our daily calories may actually reverse most chronic conditions. And I see it every day. I'm sure some of you also see it in your practice. Yes? Most experts also recommend that calories from saturated fats be less than 10%, but here, evidence supports reducing from animal products to 0 and limiting saturated fats from plant sources to less than 5%. Okay? So, relationship of, oh, by the way, I need to go back here because I needed to speak about this thing about fatty liver because that's a very common thing now. Everybody has fatty liver now. It's amazing. Yeah? And it's not, that is not a benign condition. Fatty liver is a very, very dangerous condition because it could progress to liver cirrhosis, liver failure. It is a very damaging condition. And how do you get fatty liver? Well, by the diet. By eating a diet high in animal fat, saturated fat, yeah? Triglyceride level is going through the roof, yes? And it all deposits where? Refined, sugar, a high sugar food. It all, because when the body cannot use it, it stores it as fat. And the liver is one of the best places that the body likes to store things because that's where, normally that generates the sources for energy, okay? And it deposits on the liver, and that's why many people get fatty liver nowadays. I'll guarantee you, 70% of my patients have fatty liver. I mean, I do the test all the time. Their lipid panel goes up, their liver function tests go up. I say, let's do an ultrasound, fatty liver. Okay, and the diet is the problem, the lifestyle. Okay, and it also deposits around other cells. And so that is how insulin resistance develops, and that's how we end up with metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. Because the insulin cannot get access, that insulin is like a key that opens up the cell wall so that the glucose could flow in and now give the cells and the body energy. But when that layer of fat cells is surrounding the cell membrane, okay, the cell says, I don't need any more sugar. And the sugar stays in the blood. And you begin to push out insulin. The pancreas is cranking up. It's, man, my goodness, so much insulin because it's in the blood. The cells cannot receive anymore. And the body is going crazy. The pancreas is going crazy. That is what we call insulin resistance in a nutshell. And ultimately, over time, if it's not corrected, then the pancreas says, I'm tired. Okay? So there's a whole lot more to that, but we'll just take that for now. So less than 5% even from plant sources. Okay? And so relationship of fat and cholesterol. Saturated fats, leading cause of elevated cholesterol. Okay? Elevated cholesterol is the only direct cause for atherosclerotic disease. And what is the leading cause? Saturated fats. We just talked about it, including palm oil. I know the sister opened her mouth like so. Yes, it's a bad thing. We should try to work on that. And here we go. Number 1, dairy with cheese leading the bunch. Chicken, sausage, franks, bacon, and ribs. And these are really animal-sourced type foods. I know we have all these things now in the, what we call the, what do they call it? The Morning Star, the Adventist, what do they call it now? There's a funny name we call it, and it escapes me. But the Adventist good meat, the Adventist meat. We have the alternatives, right? which should be more like a transitional food. So you're coming from the regular animal products and you transition slowly with using these other alternative sources, but many of them are very high in sodium, yes, and also some fat, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. And so you want to try to move on. I know my children, they love it, the children love it, and it's okay because it's better than them eating the regular burgers out there, okay? But you should try to still encourage them to ultimately eat less and less of it. So dietary cholesterol intake is also implicated. In other words, when you eat a lot of eggs is, like I said, is one of the highest sources of cholesterol. Listen, I have had patients who, they are wondering, why is my LDL cholesterol not going down? I stopped eating this, I stopped eating that, I exercise and everything. And I say, well, let me ask you a question. Do you eat eggs? Yeah, I eat 2 eggs every day. So I said, that is your answer. Do you eat cheese? Oh, I love cheese. Because they don't see those as animal foods for some reason. So now our total cholesterol, the strong recommendation in America is less than 200. Okay? Now in Europe, Europe is far ahead of us. They are less than 150. Many countries in Europe. Less than 150. The reason why people still get heart attacks at 199, 180, okay, of total cholesterol is because it's still doing damage, okay? And you want your bad cholesterol, which is your LDL, your low density lipoprotein, that one you want to be below 99. And for diabetics, you want it to be below 70, because 99 doesn't cut it for diabetics. They still get the strokes and the heart attacks, okay? So, and the National Lipid Association and other professional organizations have focused on lowering intake of saturated fatty acids, trans fatty acids, and dietary cholesterol. And again, those are your culprits right there. That's top of the list. The real truth about oils. All cooking oils are unhealthy. I always ask my patients always ask me, my patients always tell me, well, I use healthy oils. I'm like, which one is that? Well, I use extra virgin olive oil. Avocado oil, canola oil. There is no healthy oil on the planet. The oil in its whole food form is what you need. The olive, not the olive oil. Yes? Because even though studies show that some amount of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, might be good for heart disease, but it's a very, very tiny small amount. Yes? Even more, it destroys the endothelial lining of your blood vessels like any other oil. Now, there are some oils that are better than others. There are some that are less unhealthy than others, like the extra virgin olive oil is one of them, and the avocado and all of that. Okay, but you want to eat the nut or the seed as opposed to using the oils. Because anytime every time something has been changed from its natural form, like we just talked about before, it is a processed food. Yes, and you want to avoid the use of processed foods as much as possible. I'm not saying you can't use any oil. I mean, everybody uses oil. My wife still sprays the pan. But you need to minimize as much as possible. There is really no health benefit in consuming extracted oil. There's always enough natural fat or oil in whole food, plant-based foods to help absorb those vital nutrients that we need from the fat-soluble vitamins. Sources of oils. Oil from plant-based sources, the ones which are high in saturated fats, we already talked about that. The palm oil should be avoided. And then we have the other ones, monounsaturated. We have the olive oil, peanut oil, canola, and the rest of them, which are generally less unhealthy. Remember, the code word is not healthy oils, but less unhealthy oils. Okay, heating any oil will make it unhealthy. And how do you use oil? You heat it. That's right. Yes. You know, there was a time when I used to think that coconut oil was one of the best things on the planet, and I used to melt it. It's solid. I would melt it with a spoon over the stove, and I would drink it before I go to bed every night. Again, I was being set up. The devil was trying to take me out. But God is good, right? So generally, saturated oils can withstand higher temperatures than oils which contain poly or mono unsaturated fatty acids. Some of the oils which can withstand higher temperatures are the avocados, mustard, palm oil, peanut, rice bran, safflower, semi-refined sesame, and the semi-refined sunflower. Light, heat, and air degrade the quality. Therefore, store oil in its original sealed container in a dark, cool place. Once you have opened it, it needs to be in the refrigerator. And most of us put it in the pantry. Yeah? Choices. Okay, so what choices do you have? Excuse me. Cooking oils high in monounsaturated fats are preferable to oils high in polyunsaturated fats. Studies have shown that oils that contain high levels of oleic fatty acid may be less unhealthy. That is like your olive oil. And the ones which higher linolenic fractions are not suitable, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And we actually have talked about that. Okay? So now just this is an image here just to, again, give you an idea. Pretty much the majority of oils, if not all of them, they all have a fraction of polyunsaturated fatty acids, mono and saturated. They all have a fraction of each of those three. The problem is some of them have more of the worst, which is the saturated, like the coconut oil all the way at the end, as opposed to the olive oil, which has more of the monounsaturated. So you could look at this and see the kind of the fractions of what has more than the other. And so that's where you want to, at least, if you're going to use oil, you want to use the ones that are in blue. That's blue, right? Is that blue? Okay, good. my wife says I'm colorblind, so okay, very good. So now we have this diet, the keto diet, the paleo diet. My patients always tell me, well, I did the, which diet do you think works? The paleo, the this, or the that? Or they're doing this diet, or they're doing that diet, and I tell them, I don't agree with, I don't like any diet. I don't care for any diet, because what do you call them? Fad diets, right? You do them for a period of time, and then you go back to the same lifestyle you used to live before. You may lose 10 pounds, maybe 15, 20 even, but then after 6 weeks, you're back to your old ways, and then nothing has changed, and then you gain the weight even more than what you had before. And the other thing about these diets is, well, there's nothing good about them, really. Okay? Most of the time, you lose what we call superficial weight. You lose water weight. Okay, water weight, which is more superficial. Okay, what you want to lose is visceral fat around the liver, in the muscle cell wall that we talked about a little while ago. Because that's, you could lose that superficial fat and you still have insulin resistance because you're not dealing with the problem. Okay? And the keto diet, boy, that's just not even, I don't even know what to call that. And I tell my patients, please get off that diet. Look at your lipid numbers. Please you are a ticking time bomb for that heart attack to happen. Please get off that diet. This diet, as you all know, is very, very high in animal products, very high in fat, and low in carbs. Listen, there's nothing wrong with carbs. What is wrong with is the type of carb that you're consuming. If you're consuming complex carbohydrates, you are eating well. And we're going to talk about that in an instant. The paleo diet, which they call the caveman diet, it's a little bit better, but it also is high in animal products, which is different from what the caveman used to do, if you want to go there. Do you know how hard it is to hunt after that, whatever they used to hunt after? The deer or something? So for them, that was a luxury. So they eat more of, seeds, things that grow, plant-based type foods. And then they may have a luxury, some animals from time to time. So, but the paleo diet has changed, whereas now, because nowadays, when was the last time you went hunting? No, you just go to the store, right? You go to Trader Joe's or wherever you go, and you go to the meat section, and it's right there. So it's different from what the caveman used to do, if you want to go there, right? It's different. And then, of course, the Mediterranean diet, one of the better diets out there for sure. But again, there's the olive oil, there's the fish, which if you do it in moderation, it's better, with the oil. I don't really condone any animal products whatsoever because I just think there's no benefit from them. And of course, the Mediterranean diet also has, there's wine, of course, we are all good Adventists in this room. Nobody is drinking any kind of alcoholic beverages, or maybe you're drinking the alcoholic-free wine. Just eat the grapes, for that matter. Yeah? Grapes? You agree with grapes? Okay, thank you. Okay. So, and then the omegas. You have omega-3, omega-6, and these are all polyunsaturated. The omega-3, omega-6 ratio is very important. You want to have more omega-3s than omega-6s, right? And so there should be at least as twice omega-3 as omega-6s in the oil you use or in the fats you consume. Although there are 6, we're not going to go into the chemistry, of course, but there are 6 oils that have the ideal omega-3, omega-6 ratio, okay? One of them, namely coconut oil, is a problem. We already talked about that, so you should try to avoid that. The other 5 are flaxseed, walnut, olive, macadamia, and avocado oils. And you want to supplementing with additional omega-3 oils containing longer chain omega-3 fatty acids is also potentially dangerous. In other words, when you eat the flaxseed, it has a shorter, right? It has a shorter chain, omega-fatty 3 chain. When you eat the fish, you get more of the longer, which is more dangerous to health. Okay? How is it that the fish, how come people eat the fish to get their omega-3? Well, here's the answer. Some experts incorrectly recommend cold water fish. This recommendation is extremely dangerous because we talked about the contamination, but hear this. Cold water fish do not manufacture omega-3s. They acquire it by consuming the golden algae growing in the water. Yeah? People who want to consume omega-3 supplements can purchase the ones from golden algae, or guess what? Eat golden algae. Eat the plant. Yeah, that's it. Eat the plant. You don't need the fish to get you the omega-3. Bypass the fish and eat the plant. Are we seeing the trend here? Yes? Are we getting it's kind of making, so get away from the animal products is basically the bottom line. And there are 3 vegetable oils that have omega-3 and 6s less than 3, the ratio, flaxseed, mustard. But mustard is not a good oil to use. It's very dangerous. It's unhealthy. So if you use mustard oil, not a good oil. So it leaves only the canola and the flaxseed, which are less unhealthy. And then human studies have demonstrated that the daily consumption of freshly ground flax actually inhibits the growth and development of prostate cancer, as well as shrinking even non-cancerous prostate enlargement. So I tell my male patients who have, everybody has, there's this thing which you learn in medical school, that by the time a man gets to the age of 50, 55, whatever, he has an enlarged prostate. You don't have to have an enlarged prostate, guys. You don't have to. It's not like this type of pronouncement where it's like a doomsday type of thing where everybody has to have it. No. Eat the right food and you will never have an enlarged prostate. You will never be getting up 10 times in the night to go to the bathroom. And now you need to take tamsulosin and all this other stuff. No. I tell my patients with enlarged prostate and prostate cancer, go eat some ground flax, freshly ground. I tell them that. I mean, of course, I give them the medication too, because you got to make sure that, it looks good on paper. But I do give them the recommendation. I say, you could also go eat some flaxseed oil. I mean, some ground flax. And it's been shown in studies. So there are studies to back it up. It's not like I'm talking some kind of... I never say anything to my patients that I don't have the studies to back it up. Ever. And you know what? I've never been called up before. Thank God. Canola oil. This is the story about canola oil. Okay, I don't know if many of you knew this, but rapeseed oil produced from the original plant contained high concentrations of erucic acid, which is the same thing that is found in mustard oil, which is toxic. So in the early 1970s, what did they do in Canada? They processed it in such a way where they could produce the rapeseed with less than 2% erucic acid. And they call this modified rapeseed oil Canada oil. That's how you get the name canola oil. It's Canada oil. Yes? And that's how it's made. And so the content of erucic acid is very, very low, and so considered safe. But again, what is safe anyway? I don't know. Okay. The omega truth, again, we talked about that before. You want to have more omega-3s. Now, the body doesn't make omega-3, so you want to take it in supplement form. And again, your best sources are ground flax, chia seeds, even pumpkin seeds. These all give you the ALA and DHA, and all of that sort of boils down to your omega-3s. But it's definitely good for brain function and learning ability. So you definitely need it. Like omega-3s, omega-6 also play a crucial role in brain function, and they help to do all these other things there. But you don't want to eat too much of it. There are plenty of omega-6 fats in the standard American diet. If you eat it too much, you promote inflammation. So your balance, again, you want more omega-3s and you want less omega-6. But you don't want much of either of them anyhow. There is one more type of fatty acid, that's the omega-9. The omega-9 is found in olive oil, among many others. But you make the omega-9. It's not essential. You make it. Your body makes it. Okay? And so when you don't have omega-3s or omega-6 in the body as much, the body will use omega-9 to do its work. Okay? And it has some good effects in lowering cholesterol, reducing insulin resistance, and boosting the immune system. However, in the absence of omega-3, a large amount of omega-9 can become harmful. Okay? And so the optimal ratio is 2:1 to 4:1. Okay? Important fact, it must be emphasized that our need for these acids is very, very small. And you could read read all that there. The truth is that essential fatty acid deficiency is essentially non-existent in the general population. So you don't have to go chasing after these things. You don't have to go chasing after protein. Just by eating a healthy, balanced diet, you get all these things that you need. So our summary on fats. Keep the calories from fat to less than 10% of your total calories, and maybe even 5%. Like we talked about earlier. Trans fat should be 0. I'm sorry, guys. Young people, maybe the McDonald's stuff should... I'm telling your parents maybe not to do that anymore. Old people too, right? Okay, saturated fat should be less than 5% and should be derived exclusively from plant sources. And then the cooking oil should contain as high a level of monounsaturated fats as possible. And store all cooking oils in a cool, dark, airtight container. Keep open oil in the refrigerator. Make sure the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 is 2 or greater. And omega-3 supplement should not come from fish or fish oil, but from golden algae. You wanted to jump in? Okay. And then we'll talk about the rest.
Does anybody have any questions on fats for Dr. Ford at this time?
Okay, I have two questions about, the one is on flaxseed. So you said that it's highly recommended to eat, fresh ground flaxseed meal. So can you take like the whole flax seeds and just grind them yourself, or the one from the store? How do you know if it's still good for you to take it or not?
Well, it's best to do your own grounding, and they have the grounding machine. You have one of those again? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it works perfectly fine. And you have fresh. Yes. The ones that sell in the store, which is sealed, I buy them too. Because it's sealed, so there is that level of protection. Once you open it, however, you have to use it quickly.
Oh, and my next question is on
True.
the chia seeds. So are the chia seeds supposed to be stored in the refrigerator as well, or it's okay to just keep them like in your pantry?
As far as I know, flaxseed is the only one that's recommended. Chia seeds you could keep in the pantry. Yeah. Yeah. I keep my chia seeds in the pantry.
I think you addressed the one I was going to ask, because I always keep my seeds and things refrigerated.
Yeah.
And I don't like to keep them in plastic,
Yeah.
because I don't think that's good for us. So
Yeah, flaxseed is
Grind
about the
them.
only one I know of. But pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, you will keep in the pantry.
I had a question, and sorry if you mentioned it, but what about grapeseed oil?
So again, it's an oil, and 1 gram of oil is 9 calories, and so it's the highest caloric dense food, all types of oils and fats, and so there is no healthy oil. Remember that they are all unhealthy. Now, grapeseed oil is from a plant source, so yes, it will be healthier. Now palm oil again and coconut oil are all plant source plant oils. But again, the balance is the very high in saturated fats, so we advise to avoid them. Grape is unsaturated. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Questions? Okay, we're going to take a break. Let's give Dr. Ford a hand clap for the information. Does anybody need to put their name on a card to get in the box? Because I'm not taking any of those gifts home, okay? Is anybody's name not in the box? Now we have a couple big gifts towards the end with the goal of incentivizing you to stay till the complete program is finished. I will get you some more. Now, the ones that do not have the survey on them, that is fine. They will still be counted. I will get you. Is Brittany still here? Can someone get me the index cards from the back table and the box underneath the table, please? Oh, you need a pen? Yes, that's it. Okay. Who else did I miss? Okay. Oh, sorry. There we go. 2. Okay, raise your hand if you're ready to put it in. Did you put one? Any other completed cards? I'll come down. Now we do have gifts that are appropriate for children. So if I call your name and do not recognize that you're a child, please stand. Shake it up good, toss and turn, look at the ceiling. Okay. Oh, wait, okay. Now, on some of your cards, you saw that there was a survey. The goal is to find out what are the areas of health that you would like the health ministries to focus on first. So there's a large amount of things that we can focus on, but the goal is to find out what are the first things we want to focus on. We don't want this to be a one-time and done. We want this to be, again, a continuous reminder that medical missionary, but also the health message, right hand of the gospel. So let's go. This is for the book. Again, we're going to do one after every talk, and then I think we'll have a whole bunch, a couple more at the end. Diet can cause it, diet can cure it. Lou Encinas. Ha ha! Yay! Thank you very much. Passing that on. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm not grabbing the gift yet, because it'll depend on the name, because we have some gifts for men, some gifts for women, some gifts for children. Okay, let's see. Violet Chiconera. Oh, congratulations. We thought about getting the paper bags, but you know what? These are the same price. Same price, and you can use them in the grocery stores. Yes, sir. Oh, that's fine. On the back of the card? Okay. John, and I can't pronounce the last name or read it. It's it looks like M-I-C. Machera. Come on up. Let me get you one for the man. See, I just call you Brother John. I need to learn people's last names. Okay. Go down deep. Grace Quinton. Grace Quinton, where are you? Are you here? Remember, the rule is you need to be here. If Grace comes in and you see her, please go ahead and let her know. I will put her card back in. Vanessa. Is Vanessa here? Sister Mary's daughter. Opang? She left? Okay. Douglas. Come on up. You get the other gift for the man. It's not wine, okay? Looks are deceiving this time. And then we'll do one more, and then we'll get on, and then we'll do the big shebang at the end. Carol Armistad, you're back in the kitchen. Can you hear me? Carol Armistad, if you're back in the kitchen, come forward. Please come forward. One of our young adults, can you run back and see if Sister Carol is back? Or one of the, thank you. She has on blue today. Hopefully she has not left. While we're waiting for that, I will do one more then, okay? Because we've got a lot of gifts. David, he just left. Okay, so, okay, he's here. We saw he went to do the job. So we are going to do one of the children's gifts for him. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This one. Okay. Okay, we're going to leave this here for David. See, the good deed gets rewarded. That trust, you saw what I did. I look up at the ceiling to grab them. So, okay, now we're going to bring back Dr. Ford to talk about the bitter truth about sugar, and that will be our last presentation for the day. Vanessa, is Sister Carol back there still? Can you tell her, Doctor? Tell it.
That was a nice break. All right, so we're going to pick up now on the bitter truth about sugars and carbs. We just learned about reading labels and the amount of sugar in our food and all that good stuff. So we're just going to continue along that same road. And this is another quote from Councils on Food and Diet. The Lord intends to bring his people back to live upon simple fruits, vegetables, and grains. God provided fruit in its natural state for our first parents. In order to know what are the best foods, we must study God's original plan for man's diet. He who created man and who understands his needs appointed Adam his food. Behold, he said, I have given you every herb yielding seed and every tree in which it is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. I'm sure many of us are familiar with this quote. All right, carbohydrates. The toilet paper thing, right or wrong, this is the truth. My wife and I, we do it differently. I do it the right way. Don't you dare call my wife and tell her, okay, Dr. Woods. But I tell her also. Now, do you know that toilet paper is carbohydrate? It is. Right? It's made from trees, right? So 1 gram of carb is how many calories? 4 calories, right? So between the fat and the carbs, which one has higher calories? There you go. No carbs, low carbs, or high carbs. Which one should I eat? Not every carb is out to get you. Okay? There are healthy, carbohydrate-rich foods versus unhealthy carbohydrate-rich foods, which are the simple processed carbs. The SAD diet, we've talked about that, the standard American diet. And studies show that Americans have become increasingly rich at the diet in meat and other sources of saturated fat and cholesterol and sugar. The sugar industry has fought back, however, for many years with every recommendation to reduce sugar intake. Friends, I need you to understand that the sugar industry is very powerful. The reason why we still have the high sugar content in food is because the sugar industry is exceedingly powerful. Okay? Now, just look at the trend. The U.S. dietary guidelines continue to become more and more obscure as a result of that. In 1980 to 85, avoid too much sugar. 1990, use in moderation. 1995, choose a diet moderate in sugars. By the year 2000, choose beverages and foods to limit your intake. So you see how it's become watered down? But even with that, look, check this out. Even with that, the sugar industry doesn't like that. So let me see here. Okay. So even these loose recommendations did not make the industry happy. Under pressure from lobbyists, the government agencies use the word moderate now for limit. So choose beverages and foods to moderate your intake of sugars. Okay? In 2005, the committee dropped the sugar recommendation entirely, and it just said choose carbs wisely. That's it. Okay? In 2003, the WHO and the Food and Agricultural Organization released a joint report entitled Diet, Nutrition, and the Prevention of Chronic Diseases, which for the first time called for a reduction in sugar intake to under 10% of total dietary energy consumption. And here comes the industry, fighting back, waging, in full force. They sent a letter response from the sugar industry to the WHO, signed by 2 U.S. senators. And this is what they told the WHO. We will exercise every avenue available to expose the dubious nature of the Diet, Nutrition, and the Prevention of Chronic Diseases report, including asking congressional appropriators to challenge future funding of the U.S.'s $406 million contribution, including both regular and voluntary funding to the WHO. Taxpayer dollars should not be used to support misguided, non-science-based reports which do not add to the health and well-being of Americans, much less the rest of the world. That's industry for you. That's lobbyists for you. Yes? And so don't think that these people are sleeping. They are fully awake. So carbs and insulin resistance, we already touched on that. Sugars are ubiquitous in the U.S. food supply. You have the refined processed carbs, and then you have the complex carbs. I think by now we all know what these are. And how do they affect blood sugar? We know that the refined processed carbs, they give you a very high spike in blood sugar as soon as you eat them. And then they give you a rapid drop. It's like a seesaw effect. Seesaw, like up and down, up and down, up and down. Yes? And so you don't want that. The body wasn't built for that. The food that God gave man was complex in nature. So the complex carbs are the foods that give you a sort of a steady state. Yes? A fine trend. It's not the up and down and the swings that you have with refined foods. And so we're going to talk about sugars and kids. Man, our sister did a beautiful job here before I came up in regards to sugar. So this is really a good way to continue the conversation. The average teen eats 29 packets of sugar a day. The American Heart Association recommends less than 6%. Studies show that between 1970 and 2005, the average availability of sugars increased by 19%, which added 76 calories to the Americans' average daily energy intake. Soft drinks and other sugar-sweetened drinks are the primary source. We just talked about sodas here a little while ago. Excessive consumption of sugars has been linked with several metabolic abnormalities and adverse health conditions such as obesity and shortfalls of essential nutrients. Sugar could prevent the absorption of the essential nutrients you need. Yeah? And it causes all kinds of other problems. And we just talked about sugar substitutes, so we will move on. From 1950 to 2000, sugar-sweetened beverages consumption per capita increased 356%. Yes? However, there was a little drop from that point on. It continued to drop a little bit among the 2 years old to 19 years old, the youth, and the adults, it dropped a little bit. Among the youth, total daily caloric intake from sugar-sweetened beverages decreased 30.5%. And you see the calories there. From 1999 to 2000 to 2000 to 2010, the survey showed how that drop took place. Similarly, among adults over the same time period, daily caloric intake decreased 20.9%. Now, this is all well and good, but it is still not good. It is still high. And to be honest with you, if you check the stats now after COVID, it's even worse. Yes, because COVID was a whole different story. I mean, people's diets just went through it was total chaos. Yes? I mean, you're home more, you eat the foods which, because people are so depressed and they're locked up in their homes, people tend to eat the bad foods when they're in that type of condition. Okay, truth be told, strong evidence supports that the association of added sugars with increased cardiovascular disease risk in children, okay, through increased energy intake, increased adiposity, and dyslipidemia, or high cholesterol numbers. This committee was a committee that the American Heart Association put together from different nutritional organizations, and they found that it is reasonable to recommend that children consume less than 25 grams or 100 calories or approximately 6 teaspoons of added sugars per day, and to avoid added sugars for children less than 2 years of age. Although added sugars most likely can be safely consumed in low amounts as part of a healthy diet, few children achieve such levels, making this an important public health target. In other words, even the recommendation, which is not very good, is still not being met. The consumption is still much higher in our children. And we wonder why our children are having all kinds of chronic conditions now that we never saw in children before. Yeah? All right, here's the red line. Foods became progressively more processed, associated with a parallel but delayed rise in non-communicable diseases in the United States or other Western countries, and more recently in developing nations as their diets and lifestyles westernized. McDonald's, and I'm not picking on McDonald's per se, but McDonald's, over 3 million fed, is that what it is? Or 10 million? They're in Africa now too, right? Yeah? They were not there for the longest, but now they're all over the place. And the more, every time they drop in, the health goes down. It's a sad situation. Okay? And so chronic non-communicable diseases include metabolic syndrome, and you could see what all those are. We talked about that: abdominal obesity, hypertension, non-alcoholic fatty liver, insulin resistance, hyperinsulinemia, high triglycerides, low, that's the good cholesterol, the HDL, that's low, and the bad one is high. The triglycerides is high. That's the recipe for heart attacks and strokes. Type 2 diabetes, gout, heart disease, stroke, everything, even Alzheimer's. That's a whole nother topic. Yeah? As observed from the food availability data, processed and ultra-processed foods dramatically increased over the past 2 centuries, especially sugar, white flour, white rice, vegetable oils, and ready-to-eat meals. Who can tell me what is the common factor amongst all of those? They have been highly processed. All the benefits have been removed. All the nutrients have been removed. The fiber. Do you know how important fiber is? The reason why God tells us to eat the whole food, plant-based food is because even though the food has fructose, it's a sugar, but the balance of it all and the fiber gives you that slow rise in blood pressure. Blood sugar. Yes? Over time. And it doesn't have the crazy effects as when you eat the ready sugar. And your microbiome, your microbiota in your gut, they love the fiber. They feed off this and give you a good flora. And you're able to maintain your healthy weight and general health for that matter. And then we talk about high fructose corn syrup. How many of you have foods in your pantry right now that does not have high fructose corn syrup? Oh, we have a few hands. My goodness, excellent. Very good. That's very good. This is a disaster, folks. High corn fructose syrup is a disaster. It has just invaded the market. You see how much it increased? When adjusted for food loss from 2017 to 2019, the estimated high fructose corn syrup availability increased 710%. Everything else went down. You see how it began? You see the blue and is that yellow at the top? They're kind of, more so steady and then even a little drop. But you see how the high fructose corn syrup has suddenly crept up? It is a disaster. It is highly processed cornstarch that becomes corn syrup and processed even more. And it is easy to use. It is readily available, it's cheap, and it's in everything, quote unquote. And you need to be you need to read your labels because there's trouble there. Wise counsel from the American Heart Association. A prudent upper limit of intake of sugars is half of the discretionary caloric intake or allowance, which for most American women is no more than 100 calories per day, and for the men, no more than 150 calories per day from added sugars. But people are blowing this out of the water. Even though the recommendation itself could be even improved, but it's even worse than what they're stating. The current average sugar consumption per day is 25.28 teaspoons. We just talked about it, right? That is 11.98 teaspoons more than the US government recommendation. About 90% of individuals in the US eat more than the government 10% healthy guidelines and the guidance of the AHA on a daily basis, with increasing numbers of statistics and research finding pointing to the danger of ever consuming sugar. It is evident that sugar is the culprit in our huge numbers of diseases, of disease-causing causes and colossal over-expenditure in our healthcare system. The reason why the healthcare budget, it's going through the roof. This cannot sustain. We need to do better with our lifestyle, with our diet. It is horrible, and it's getting worse. Added sugars and cardiovascular disease risk in children. Foods and beverages each contribute half to the added sugars in children's diet, 40 grams each. I know we buy these breakfast cereals for our children. I don't know how many of us read the labels, but these things are just a disaster. Yeah? I know it's easy, it's convenient, but we need to read the labels at the very least and get the least of all the evils. Yes? And the top contributors include soda, fruit-flavored and sport drinks, and cakes and cookies. I'm not trying I'm not a party pooper. I'm not trying to mess up a good thing. So, but folks, we need to do better. and our children are getting sicker and sicker earlier and earlier in life. Yes, we're seeing type 2 diabetes in adolescent and pre-adolescent kids. It's a terrible thing. Okay? And that's your graph right there. You could look at it yourself and see what the trend is. Okay? And as they get older, the consumption becomes even more. And males, they top the list. They're off the chart. Okay? And by the way, this thing that people like to eat, Skittles, Skittles is one of the most dangerous foods in the world. Skittles is so bad. It is just eating sugar, refined sugar. That's all there is. Do you know that Skittles contain something called titanium dioxide? Ouch. Who knows what that is? Titanium dioxide. Go look it up. Go check out Dr. Google. Who wants to eat titanium dioxide? And it's also in many other of these, even in cake prep, the cake mix, some of them contain that too. Dangerous food. It's very, very harmful to the human body. But we just pop them like nothing, like it's candy, but it is candy. And you have the good, the bad, the ugly. You have your good carbs, yeah, and then you have your bad carbs. You have carbs to avoid or eat in moderation, and the carbs to enjoy. And again, the carbs to enjoy are the whole, you want to eat your whole grains, your legumes, these are the type of things that are very beneficial to the human body. Not the processed grains. Get the whole wheat rice as opposed to the white rice. Yes? Get the whole wheat pasta as opposed to the white pasta. Get your foods that are as close to their natural form as possible. Okay? Mild processing is okay because we all eat these things. But when it becomes highly processed and you remove all the benefits, all the fiber, all the other nutrients, it is just a simple refined carb that is harmful to your health. Okay? And the current recommendation, at least 65 countries have implemented dietary guidelines or public health policies to curb sugar's consumption in an effort to encourage maintenance of healthy body weight. Okay, nutrition first. In the United Kingdom, the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition made new recommendations on the amount of free sugars, reducing it from 10% of total energy to 5%. So even the 10% is not good enough. Now they're talking about 5%. In other words, it should be so minimal, you should hardly even taste the sugar in the food. Yes? You're best off getting your sugar from eating whole fruits. Yes? Eat your fruits. Just enjoy your fruits. Avoid the fruit juices. Eat the fruit. It has everything you need to give it a nice balance when you eat it. And your body benefits from it even more. It has all the nutrients in the proper balance. It has the fiber to regulate blood sugar and to feed your microbiota. And you are healthy for it. That is why God gave it to us in the garden. And so a new WHO guideline recommends adults and children reduce their daily intake of free sugars to less than 10% of their total energy intake. A further recommendation to below 5% or roughly 25 grams, that's 6 teaspoonsful per day, would provide additional health benefits. The WHO calls on countries to reduce sugar intake among adults and children. They're still on that sugar stuff. Even though they were threatened by the industry, but they have some guardrails that the industry cannot penetrate. So this is a good recommendation here. So healthy carbs will decrease the risk of lifestyle diseases like type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, heart disease, chronic inflammation, cancers. And then you have what we call the second meal effect. Who knows what the second meal effect is? The second meal effect is, it used to be called the lentil. You know lentil, the legume lentil? We had some today. The lentil effect. when it was first studied. What happened? They fed people lentils, and they found out that, say for example, you ate lentil for breakfast. They found out that when you eat your second meal, even if it's like it's a burger or some type of bad meal, but that first meal had such a powerful effect on the second meal, okay? Blood sugar rise is very minimal. You have a very nice trend, okay? The body is benefited from it. It reduces blood sugar spikes and weight gain, so that it is called the second meal effect. The first meal, and that goes for any type of legumes, by the way, because they did it with chickpeas and any kind of legumes. When you eat it for a meal, even if you have it for dinner, it has an effect on breakfast the next day. Legumes are one of the best sources of foods you could eat as a diabetic. The blood sugar rise is very, very slow. And so you could eat it, and you could feel satisfied, full, with all the benefits, and not worry about a blood sugar spike. That's your second meal effect in a nutshell. And these are all the foods here that you want to enjoy. And bread is good. The Ezekiel bread is good. Your buckwheat, your rye bread, sourdough bread. These are good breads you could eat. Okay, well, you want to avoid the white flour as much as possible. Okay, and again, here's another picture. Here are your Skittles right there, your cakes and all these things that are all those dangerous foods that are causing all kinds of problems for people. And here's what you want to be paying attention to on your complex carbs. Okay? Okay, and then just a quick word as we wrap up. Genomic medicine, I think it was Dr. Tracy who spoke this morning about how, even in utero, what the mother eats affects the babies. And genomic medicine has been around now for the last, give or take, 20 years or so. And it basically talks about, we talk about bad genes, and we all have bad genes, inherited tendencies. Some of my patients tell me, well, I'm predisposed to get diabetes because my mother has diabetes, her mother has diabetes, my grandfather has diabetes, my cousin has, everybody has diabetes, or high blood pressure, or high cholesterol. So they just accept it like it's a normal thing. It's not normal. These things are lifestyle diseases. It's the lifestyle. And generations eat the same way. So I teach my kids the way to eat, and my kids eat the way I eat, and then they teach their kids the same way. So the thing passes on. It's the lifestyle. And you could break that trend at any given time. Epigenetic medicine tells us that you could, by changing your diet to a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, turn off the switch for bad genes and turn on the switch for good genes. You could reverse conditions by turning off and turning on. They have done studies on this even in on prisoners in California. So by eating a healthy diet, that predisposition becomes a fallacy. It doesn't exist. You don't have to die of early cardiovascular disease. You could change the trend. And so that's what this slide is telling us in a nutshell. You eat the right foods, you change the trend. And while your parents may have died at age 50 or 60 from heart attacks and all kinds of problems, you could live till 100 or more. Where we should be all in that blue zone that's happening in Loma Linda. We are all the same Adventists, aren't we? We could eat the same way. There is no group of people right now that have been studied. Adventists are the most studied people in the world in research when it comes to health. And Adventists they have found out, of all the blue zones, we live the longest, healthiest lives when we follow the health diet, the health reform diet. Now, if you don't follow it, then you're like everybody else. Okay? And so you want to be sure to turn off those bad genes and turn on the good genes. The food gives you, and you want to have different colors on your plate, right? You don't just want to have just just one type of food. You want to have different colors. Make it look nice and appealable and appetizing. Okay, and then this is another slide of how diabetes has skyrocketed, and it's even worse now. Okay? 26 million people have diabetes by the official criteria, okay? But it's even worse when you do the 2-hour blood sugar test. Now it's about 40 million, okay? Pretty much everybody now has pre-diabetes. Most people do. And pre-diabetes is really hardly any different from full-blown diabetes. They have most of the same type of adverse events. So you want to get away from diabetes and pre-diabetes. A low-fat, whole-food, plant-based diet is ideal to get the right carbs and promote weight loss. The body processes complex carbs, fiber, and starch differently from simple carbs. Carbs provide the fuel your muscle and brain needs, okay? So you want to eat the right foods. And here is, I believe, is our last slide here, or maybe the second to last. And I'm going to read this for you from Lift Him Up. God endowed man with so great vital force that he has withstood the accumulation of disease brought upon the race in consequence of perverted habits and has continued for 6,000 years. This fact of itself is enough to evidence to us the strength and electrical energy that God gave to man at his creation. It took more than 2,000 years of crime and indulgence of base passions to bring bodily disease upon the race to any great extent. If Adam at his creation had not been endowed with 20 times as much vital force as men now have, the race with their present habits of living in violation of natural law would have become extinct. Let that sink in. God's health reform plan. We have lost 95% of our health and healing potential. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We read that this morning. Yes? And so there is no reason why we can't allow our bodies, give it time to heal itself, given the right conditions. Yes? The causeless does not come, Solomon tells us. It's what we are doing to ourselves that is killing us. But given the right conditions, the body has the powerful ability to repair and heal. And it's all about diet. Medicine used to be, Dr. Tracy, and you know this, when Hippocrates came about, he said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. But my goodness, how far we have come from that. Listen, like Dr. Tracy said this morning, and we all know that as physicians, who are physicians here, we don't get hardly any kind of nutrition class in medical school, or in residency for that matter. Maybe you might get a couple hours. Yeah? And that's it. I had to go do my extra training on preventative health and wellness and lifestyle. And some of us also have done it and doing that. So let's get on track. Let's be healthy for the Lord, because we are living in the last days. Christ wants to come. He desperately wants to come. But he wants a people who are ready to be used by him in such effective ways, who could go out there and share the good news and give people a health message. You do know the health message is the last work? It is the last work. It is the entering wedge. When they begin to close us out, the health message is what will get us into people's homes and into the cities. We need to be attentive and alert to what's happening around us. And we need to be on fire for the Lord. And it starts with our diet, because it clears up the mind, and God could speak with us more clearly. Grains, fruits, and nuts and vegetables constitute the diet chosen for us by our Creator. These foods, prepared in as simple and natural a manner as possible, are the most healthful and nourishing. They impart a strength, a power of endurance, and a vigor of intellect that are not afforded that are not afforded by a more complex. Let me read that again. They impart a strength, a power of endurance, and a vigor of intellect that are not afforded by a more complex and stimulating diet. I think I may have said that wrong. Because we're talking about the health foods that provide us the vigor and intellect that are not afforded by a simple and stimulating diet. That complex here should be at the top, and simple should be at the bottom. Ministry of Healing. And 3 John verse 2 was our memory text today. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. May God bless you, and thank you to the kitchen staff and all those who put the food together, because that was a healthy food. My blood sugar is still doing well. I'm doing well. I didn't have any spikes. So I thank you for the preparation, and I thank Dr. Tracy for your kind invitation. God bless you.
Let us give Dr. Ford hand clap. Does anybody have any questions? I would like to start first. Okay, we talk about the good foods helping us. How long does it usually take for one's palate to change so that they don't necessarily crave the sugar? And then the second part of that question is how to manage sugar withdrawal symptoms.
Okay. So, first question. So, studies have shown, and it kind of varies slightly here and there, but about 21 days. 21 days seem to be the length of time that our tongue, that our palate, our taste buds kind of begin to adapt to a new diet. So I tell my patients, I say, can you give it 3 weeks? Just 3 weeks. Can we work together on that and see what happens after 3 weeks? And if you do it properly and enthusiastically, for that matter, you really want to do it, you're not messing around or playing games, you will realize that you lose the taste for that food. And you don't want to go back and eat it anymore. Now, you don't want to keep it in your home, in the fridge. Every time you go in there, you see it, keep it away from you. But you do get a change in your taste buds within that period of time. And what was the second question?
So a lot of people have sugar addiction because it's so ubiquitous in our food supply. How do you, as you transfer to a new diet, one with less and then no sugar, how do you treat or take care of the withdrawal symptoms that you have?
Yes. So the brain just knows sugar as sugar, right? The brain doesn't know, well, this one came from this one. Now, the body may experience a different effect, but the brain just wants sugar, right? And carbs is your best source of sugar. So what happens is, as the brain begins to experience, sugar, it gets its fuel. If it doesn't experience sugar, then the keto diet becomes into effect. You go into ketosis, and then you get sugar from ketones. As far as that transition from to avoid the withdrawal, you begin to increase your intake of fruits, okay? Things that are healthy, sugar-type foods. Fruits is sweet, right? All fruits are sweet. I don't know if a fruit is not sweet. And you begin to increase your intake of fruits, and it still gives you the sugar. So rather than biting on that piece of donut, which is full of trans fat and refined sugar, you could bite on an apple. Yeah? Do you like crunch? Grab a carrot. Carrot has sugar in it. And so slowly but surely, you begin, the withdrawal is not as intense because, again, the brain is still getting the sugar it needs. But it is getting it from a healthy source. Yes? And even if you trip up and fall on occasion, with serious effort, sometimes you need support. You need somebody to help you along. With serious support, yes, you are able to meet the withdrawal demands, and it's very, very minimal. And people do it successfully. I mean, I know people who have done it very, very well.
I hope maybe I missed the part. I just wanted to ask regarding honey and maple syrup. where does it fall? Is it something, how bad is it or how good is it? If I use that to replace sugar, how does that go?
So honey in its pure raw form has a lot of health benefits. Some people have their own bees. They have their own beehive. Excuse me. And it has a lot of health benefits. Dr. Woods talked about using honey today in some of the natural remedies for various ailments, even for cough, yeah, and upper respiratory illness. So honey has a very, very good benefits. Now, when it's processed and refined and all these different things, then it becomes a problem. You really want to avoid the processing. The maple syrup is the same thing. You want to avoid the processing. Molasses, you want to avoid the processing. So you want to eat these things as healthily as possible in their, right from, if you got the real pure raw honey, it is highly good for even diabetics have been shown to take a little tiny piece of honey, and it does great benefits for their health. But again, at the end of the day, it's still sugar. Yeah, so you also want to minimize it. It is healthier than all of this other crazy stuff we have out there, the refined sugars, but it is still something you need to watch very closely. But that's better of an option for you than the regular sugar itself.
I think that also goes back to what Sister Cynthia told us about serving sizes, because if you don't know your serving sizes and you see only 1 gram of sugar, as a serving size, you see there's 1 gram of sugar, but then you end up eating the whole package, which may actually have 4 servings in it, then you've already bumped up your sugar intake. Any other questions?
Because what I see people doing is, because it's honey, they just keep squeezing it into the, like into the cup of tea. Like squeeze, and I'm like, oh, are you going to stop at some point? They want to get that sweet taste. You don't have to have the sweet taste. Yeah? You don't have to. Retrain your taste buds, and God would help you.
What would you say to people who try to switch, and in a few weeks or months they find themselves going back because they are like, it doesn't taste good. It's not what it.
What doesn't taste good?
Either food or whatever it is they have switched from, which is, it's bad, but they have switched. Let's say they are cooking without oil, and they have switched to, or they have switched from a meat diet to a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, but when they switch, they find it's very hard to stay, and they go back. What is there any advice you can give?
So again, our taste buds have been so, for lack of a better term, messed up that it really takes deliberateness. It takes a desire to do it. It takes prayer. It takes support. When we began to make the changes in my home, my wife and I agreed to do it together, even though I was the one who had a heart attack. Right? She was agreeable to do it together. My children, from the time they were born, they've been vegetarians. Okay? And but the taste buds need to be retrained, and it could be retrained. Yes? Rather than picking up, if you like the crunch, because now, do you know that they actually have scientists who study the crunch of the chips and all these things that are crunchy. There's a crunch that you can't have just one. There's a certain crunch that it speaks to the brain, and you just keep going, crunch. And the brain is like, yes, more, please, more. Grab a carrot. And, if you have a kind of, you fall back a little bit, you get a support system. Get somebody, your spouse, your family, a friend, whoever they did church, whatever, your health ministry, a team, somebody to help you along the way. Some people now, they have these life coaches, whatever, but help you along the way. But if you are determined to do it with prayer, God will give you the grace and the strength. 21 days, our taste buds change. Up to 6 weeks, you don't even want to see the food anymore. But you have to stay away from the thing. It's just like smoking. It's just like alcohol. You can't go back to the bar and say, well, let me go witness to some people over there in the bar. Let me go share the gospel. Because the devil is like, oh, you just came into my territory. So you want to keep it out of your home, period. And always have good support and steering in it. God will give you the victory. God is not a God that fails. He gives the victory. He did it for me. And he could do it for any one of us.
Oftentimes, what I found is spices and the herbs, adding it to the diet can make it more flavorful. Shockingly, I've used cinnamon by itself in oatmeal, and it actually tastes good. But so that's one thing. The other thing is a good cookbook. Now, I know some people don't like to cook with cookbooks. I love cookbooks because they give ideas. And if you're one that, is familiar with the kitchen and you can just look at something and make it great, I'm one of those that needs to know how many cups, teaspoons, tablespoons, etc. But a good cookbook gives ideas, because then you see that, okay, they're not putting this in. Okay, they're using this instead. Okay, now I understand. So a good cookbook, and it was a request on somebody's card that we actually considered cooking classes or demonstrations again. We ask you to pray. That is a very big endeavor. It takes a lot of work. So if you are interested in it and would like to volunteer, please see me. But that was one thing. We did a cooking class back before COVID, 2019. And shockingly, well, no, I guess it's not, because it's truly a ministry. More than, how much? 75% of the people there were non-Adventists. I did not know that word had gotten out to Good News TV, our Adventist TV station that we have, and people were flocking in because they wanted to get healthy. We talked about all the different things, the nutrients that are beneficial in the body. Our kitchen's not quite set up where we can actually show you how to cook, but what we did is did presentations where we may have it in different stages. This is what it looks like. These are the ingredients. Then this is what it looks like after we mix it. This is what it looks like when it's done, and gave you a sample tasting of it so that you can say, oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And we always try and do very simple recipes. So you go home and like, okay, I really can do that. But that is one of the things we are prayerfully trying to bring back as a health ministries team. So I ask and solicit your prayers as we work on that. Any other questions? Okay,
let me just say 1 second. One of my good friends in North Dakota, Grand Forks, is a cardiologist, and we used to work together. And after Sabbath, he would have Sabbath school at his clinic for his non-Adventist patients. He would invite them, when they come to see him as a patient. And then he would invite them, hey, by the way, you want to come? And then he would prepare meals that was already prepared. He would bring them, and then everybody would have a nice little lunch, and then he would give them the menus. He would have a new menu every Sabbath. And it's a beautiful way, it's just a nice way to invite people into the church. It's a beautiful cooking school, very, very powerful.
Okay, let's head on home. Let's land this plane and get some names, because I'm not taking any of that home. Okay, if you did not get a keychain, there is a gray box in front of the table that you can grab a keychain. Now that we know that we have some left over, you can feel free to grab some for family members. Okay. Ruben, are you still here? Ruben, come on up. Where is, let's see. There we go. Thank you. David Ross, are you still here? David? Okay, I'll hold the card. Veronica, congratulations. I will bring this down to you, Sister Veronica. Now, I know you don't have any little ones in the house, but I think you'll still appreciate this. Okay, let's see. We have an adult here, a child, a girl. Oh, this one. Yeah, let's do this one next. Ha ha. I think somebody's going to like this. It's a small bag, but it's going to be very enjoyable. Let's dig deep. Andre Morrison. Andre left, didn't he? Yep, okay, so we'll go again. David. Yes, 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 yes. Ha ha ha. It's flat, but there's something special in there. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. So looks can be deceiving, guys. We called Jane before. Is Jane here now? Jane? Okay. Kimberly Miles, she's left. Okay. Isabella Morales. Dr. Ugonna Woods, come on up. Actually, you know what I'm going to give you? How old are your children again? I think they still like that. It's a cookbook in there. Haha, Linda Van Steenwyck. All right, I'll bring this down to you. Sister Faluna, all right. That's a male. Oh, I know, we got to give these out too. There you go, sis. Again, these are signed by the author. If you're watching, Sister Thornton, we appreciate it. We thank you. Desiree DeMilo. Can somebody run back to the kitchen and get Sister Desiree, please? Thank you. She's in the chef's outfit. And praise the Lord. Let's give a hand clap for her and her team. Be honest. You can tell me, because we need to know. Did you enjoy the lunch? That was completely vegan, including the cheese that was on the lasagna. There's many ways to make vegan cheese. I prefer the healthier version because you can make it using cashews, you can do different nuts, but sometimes it's all right to do a little. So if everything else is natural or everything else is homemade and you get something, again, moderation like Dr. Ford talked about. So if everything is natural, a little bit on there. But remember your serving size, like Sister Cynthia said. Peter, are you still here? Brother Peter? No, I think Brother Peter left. Okay. Lois, don't go too far, Lois. Again, let her hear the claps. Praise the Lord for her influence. This is Sister Desiree. She did a wonderful job in the kitchen. Thank you. Again, the book is Diet Can Cause It, Diet Can Cure It. Bob Austin, Brother Bob, come on down. Welcome, thank you. Let's see, we're gonna save the big one for last. Okay. Lupita Garcia, are you still here? Lupita Garcia. Okay. Angelina Jimenez? All right. Yes. Come on down. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, it's getting slim now, but we're going to finish this off. Brother Enoch Momanyi, did I pronounce that right? Okay, he's not here, okay. Muse, come on up. Remember, she is allowed to win twice because that drawing that was back there was a surprise. Down to two. Two more little gifts. Okay, I thought doctors wrote bad. Sister Catherine, is Sister Catherine still here? Okay. Everton, Brother Everton, can somebody, he left? Oh, okay. Dr. Matt. Didn't you enjoy his music? Oh my goodness. Let's affirm him. We understand that the gift comes from God, but when you allow God to use you, that is somebody who God used. We really enjoyed your playing. And then the last, I will actually tell you what it is. It's another flat one, but this is actually a $25 Sprouts gift card in here in your reusable bag. So this is the granddaddy of them all. Okay, let's dig deep. Okay, there it is, eyes closed. Okay, oh, that's an N. Sister Helen Nabuto, she left? No? Okay. Yeah, she was sitting back there. Okay. Let's keep on going. Is Sister Naomi here? Can you please go wake her up? I love children. I love children. They will tell you as it is. I love them. I love them. Oh, actually, I forgot this one. Okay. So, yeah, this one we got to give. Because was this one? That's right, we had the book that went to Sister Desiree. So we actually have 2 left. Is she coming? Okay. That's all right. I understand. Praise the Lord. We just are only 19 minutes over according to that clock. Our goal was to get you out of here by 5:30 because we don't want to wear out the saints. Yes, some of us missed our Sabbath afternoon nap. So we're going to leave this for Sister Naomi. Okay, now for the big granddaddy. Okay. Again, it's a $25 gift card to Sprouts with a reusable grocery bag. David Magaka? Yay! Congratulations. Elder Charles, can you come pray us out? We would like to thank you, Health Ministries Department would like to thank you for coming, for supporting, for being part in the interactive portion, and for receiving the message that we believe God has given us. May you be in good health.
Okay, thank you. I request that we start up, then we can say the final prayer. And thank you for your patience. I know we all go home with something. It was a good day, and thank you for the presentations. Okay, let's pray. Oh, dear Heavenly Father, once again we come before Thee. We want to thank you for this blessed Sabbath that you have given unto us. Thank you for the programs that I've been learning in this sanctuary since morning to this time. They have all been programs to glorify your name. We pray that you bless all the speakers of the day, continue to give them wisdom and knowledge, so that whenever they are called to impart that knowledge to your children, they may be available. Let's all of us go with a blessing, Father. And Father, may the messages that we had today be also to change our lifestyle, Father. May you help us. We have been trying, but Father, right now you've spoken to us, we need to change. Help us, Father, because we are weak. We pray that you dismiss us from this place with your blessings. And Father, again, when you get us another opportunity to meet in this sanctuary again on the Sabbath, honor and glory will be unto your name. Be with us the whole of this week. Bless our works, bless our employments and everything. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Sister Naomi, did you come in? She's coming later.